I wake up with my wrists burning and my head feeling like someone used it for batting practice. The rope cuts into my skin as I try to move, and that's when the reality hits me like a sledgehammer to the chest. I'm tied to my own bed, in my own cabin, and my wife Elena is standing in the doorway with a smile that could freeze hell over. Well, well, look who's finally awake, she says, her voice dripping with satisfaction. I was starting to worry you'd miss the show, Jack. My name is Jack Harker, and up until about 12 hours ago, I thought I had a pretty decent life. I'm a combat engineer turned small business owner, running a construction consulting firm in this godforsaken corner of Maine. I've got a sense of humor that's kept me alive through 2 tours overseas and 15 years of marriage. Right now, though, I'm not feeling particularly funny. Elena, I croak, my throat dry as sandpaper. What the hell is this? She steps into the room, and I notice she's dressed to kill. Literally, it seems. Black dress, red lipstick, hair done up like she's going to a funeral. Mine, probably. This, my dear husband, is what happens when you underestimate people. She walks closer, her heels clicking on the hardwood floor. You always thought you were so smart, didn't you? The tough guy with all the answers. I test the ropes. Military grade. Someone did their homework. But whoever tied these knots never served in the Army Corps of Engineers. There's always a weakness if you know where to look. Let me guess, I say, keeping my voice steady. This is about Greg Lawton. Her smile widens. Oh, Jack, you have no idea how much this is about Greg. Greg Lawton, the new regional manager at Elena's company, 40-something, drives a BMW, wears suits that cost more than most people make in a month, the kind of guy who thinks money makes him untouchable. I'd met him exactly 3 times, and each time I wanted to punch his smug face. He's coming here, isn't he? I ask. Any minute now. Elena checks her watch, a new Rolex I don't remember buying her. I want you to see what a real man looks like, Jack. I want you to understand exactly how much you've lost. She turns to leave, then pauses at the door. Oh, and don't bother screaming. We're 20 miles from the nearest neighbor, and the snow's coming down hard. No one's going to hear you. The door clicks shut, and I'm alone. I've been in worse situations. Defusing IEDs in Afghanistan was worse. Getting shot at in Iraq was worse. But somehow, being betrayed by the woman I'd loved for 15 years feels like the worst thing that's ever happened to me. I close my eyes and let my training take over. First rule of being captured: assess your situation. I'm in the master bedroom of our mountain cabin, the one we bought 5 years ago as a weekend retreat. It's got all the modern conveniences: smart home system, security cameras, automated climate control. Elena probably thinks she's been clever, but she doesn't know half of what this place can do. The ropes are tied to the bedposts, but the bed itself isn't bolted down. If I can rock it hard enough, I might be able to slide it toward the wall where I keep my emergency kit. I start working on the knots with my teeth while using my legs to shift the bed inch by inch. It takes 20 minutes, but I finally get close enough to the wall to reach the hidden panel behind the headboard. Inside is exactly what I need: a tactical knife, a backup phone, and the master control for the cabin's smart home system. I cut through the ropes just as I hear a car pulling up outside. Through the window, I can see Greg's BMW struggling through the snow. He gets out, slipping and sliding like a city boy who's never seen winter before. Elena runs out to meet him, and they embrace right there in my driveway. She kisses him like she hasn't kissed me in years. Time for a little payback. I fire up the smart home system from my phone. This cabin has more tech than most people realize. Climate control, automated locks, security cameras, even controls for the hot tub and pool systems. Elena wanted all the modern conveniences. She's about to get them. I watch through the security cameras as they come to the front door. Elena tries her key, but the locks don't budge. I've switched the system to manual override. What's wrong? Greg asks, stamping his feet in the cold. The door's not opening, Elena says, frustration creeping into her voice. The smart lock must be malfunctioning. They try the back door. Same result. Then the side door. Nothing. Meanwhile, I'm adjusting the climate control. The cabin's heating system can be controlled room by room, but it can also be reversed. Instead of pumping warm air, it can pump cold air from outside. Very cold air. I also activate the hot tub's drain system and switch the water input to the outdoor spigot. In about 10 minutes, that tub is going to be full of water that's barely above freezing. Through the cameras, I watch Elena and Greg getting more and more frustrated. The snow is coming down harder now, and the temperature is dropping fast. Greg's fancy coat isn't designed for a Maine blizzard. Call Jack, Greg says, his teeth starting to chatter. His phone goes straight to voicemail, Elena replies. He must have turned it off. I did turn off my regular phone, but I've got 3 backup phones that Elena doesn't know about. Old habits from the military. I activate the cabin's intercom system and speak into my phone. Having trouble getting in? My voice echoes from speakers around the property. Elena spins around, looking for the source. Jack? Jack, where are you? I'm exactly where you left me, sweetheart. Tied up in the bedroom, remember? Greg looks confused. What's he talking about? Elena's face goes white. That's impossible. I tied those knots myself. You tied them like someone who learned knots from YouTube videos, I say through the speakers. I learned them from people who use them to save lives. There's a difference. I can see them both shivering now. Greg's lips are turning blue. Jack, stop this, Elena demands. Open the doors right now. I don't think so. See, I've been having an interesting conversation with myself about marriage and trust, and what happens when people think they're smarter than they actually are. I switch on the exterior cameras and start recording. This is going to be good. You wanted to humiliate me, Elena. You wanted me to watch while you paraded your boyfriend around. Well, congratulations, I'm watching. Greg tries to kick down the front door, but it's solid oak with steel reinforcement. He just ends up falling on his ass in the snow. Let us in, you psychopath, he shouts. Psychopath? That's harsh, Greg. I prefer creatively motivated. Elena tries her phone, probably calling for help, but I've activated a cell phone jammer that I installed last year after some teenagers kept trespassing on the property. It's amazing what you can buy online these days. No signal, she tells Greg, panic starting to creep into her voice. That's because I don't want to be interrupted, I announce. We're going to have a nice long talk about respect and consequences. Through the cameras, I watch Greg try to break a window with a rock. The windows are impact-resistant glass. He might as well be throwing marshmallows. Jack, please, Elena calls out. We can work this out. We can talk about this like adults. Adults! I laugh, and the sound echoes from every speaker on the property. Adults don't drug their husband's coffee and tie him up so they can torture him with their affair. Greg stops trying to break the window. You drugged him. Elena doesn't answer, which is answer enough. Oh, she didn't tell you about that part, Greg. She slipped something into my coffee this morning. Probably thought it would keep me unconscious longer. Lucky for me, I've got a pretty high tolerance for that kind of thing. Military training, you know. I can see Greg looking at Elena differently now. Good. Let him wonder what else she hasn't told him. The hot tub is almost full of freezing water now. I activate the jets, and the sound echoes across the property like a small waterfall. What's that sound? Greg asks. That's the hot tub filling up, I explain helpfully. Elena loves the hot tub. Don't you, honey? Remember how we used to soak in it together after a long day? Back when you actually pretended to love me? Elena is crying now, mascara running down her cheeks. Jack, I'm sorry. I made a mistake. A mistake is forgetting to pick up milk at the store. A mistake is leaving the garage door open. What you did was plan out an elaborate scheme to destroy me emotionally and probably financially. That's not a mistake. That's a choice. Greg is looking around frantically now, probably trying to figure out how to get to his car. But I've been watching him too. While he was trying to break into my house, I took a little walk outside through the basement exit. His BMW now has 4 flat tires. Going somewhere, Greg? I ask as he discovers his car. He spins around, looking for me. But I'm back inside now, watching from the cameras. You slashed my tires. I didn't slash anything. I just let the air out, very carefully. Wouldn't want to damage such an expensive car. Elena and Greg huddle together for warmth. And I have to admit, it's almost touching, almost. Here's what's going to happen, I announce. You two are going to stand right there and listen while I explain some facts of life. Then you're going to make some choices. The snow is really coming down now, and the wind is picking up. It's going to be a long night. Fact number 1. Elena, you've been cheating on me for at least 6 months. I know because I've been watching your credit card statements. Expensive dinners at places we've never been together. Hotel charges on days when you said you were working late. You're not nearly as clever as you think you are. Elena's shoulders slump. She knows I've got her dead to rights. Fact number 2. Greg, you've been bragging to your buddies at the country club about your married girlfriend. My friend Pete does electrical work there. He hears things. Greg's face goes red, though that might be from the cold. Fact number 3. You two thought you could humiliate me, and then take me for everything I'm worth in a divorce. Elena's already been talking to lawyers. I know because one of them called to verify my income. Professional courtesy, you might call it. I paused to let that sink in. But here's the thing you didn't count on. I'm not the same guy you married 15 years ago, Elena. I'm not the same guy who came back from overseas just grateful to be alive. I've learned a few things about people and about myself. Through the cameras, I can see them both shivering violently now. So here's what's going to happen. I'm going to go inside, pack up your things, Elena, and leave them by the door. Then I'm going to drive back to town and file for divorce first thing Monday morning. You two can figure out how to get home on your own. Jack, wait, Elena calls out. We need to talk about this. No, we really don't. We're way past talking. I shut off the intercom and the cameras. Let them wonder what I'm doing. Actually, what I'm doing is making coffee and thinking about my next move. Because this is just the beginning. 3 days later, I'm sitting in Pete Morrison's garage, watching him work on a transmission while I tell him the whole story. Pete's been my best friend since we were kids, and he's the only person in town who knows all the details about what happened at the cabin. So you just left them there? Pete asks, not looking up from his work. In the snow? I left the basement door unlocked, I say, and I turned the heat back on before I left. I'm not a monster. Pete grins. Could have fooled me. The truth is, Elena and Greg spent about 2 hours in the cold before they figured out how to get inside. By then, I was long gone, and I'd taken Elena's suitcases with me, left them on the front porch of our house in town with a note that said, find somewhere else to live. So what's the plan now? Pete asks. Now I find out exactly how deep this goes. Elena didn't come up with this scheme on her own. She's not that creative. Pete wipes his hands on a rag and looks at me seriously. Jack, you know I'm behind you 100%, but you need to be careful. If you push too hard, this could blow up in your face. It already blew up in my face. Now I'm just returning the favor. My phone buzzes. Text message from an unknown number. We need to talk. Meet me at Murphy's bar tonight at 8. Come alone, Rita. Rita Castellano. Elena's best friend and yoga instructor. Also the town's biggest gossip. If anyone knows the full story, it's Rita. Looks like I've got a date, I tell Pete, showing him the message. Rita. Man, that woman knows where all the bodies are buried in this town. That's exactly what I'm counting on. That evening, I walk into Murphy's bar right at 8 o'clock. It's a typical small-town dive. Dark wood, neon beer signs, and the lingering smell of cigarettes from back when you could still smoke indoors. Rita's sitting in a corner booth, nursing a martini and looking like she'd rather be anywhere else. Rita's one of those women who's spent so much time and money trying to look younger that she's ended up looking like a wax figure. Botox, fillers, fake tan, the whole 9 yards. She's wearing yoga pants and a designer top that probably cost more than most people's car payments. Jack, she says as I slide into the booth across from her, you look terrible. Thanks, you look like you've got something to say. She takes a long sip of her martini before speaking. Elena's staying at my place. Good for Elena. She's a mess, Jack. She's been crying for 3 days straight. I'm sure she has, probably upset that her plan didn't work out. Rita leans forward, lowering her voice. Look, what she did was wrong. I told her that from the beginning. But this thing you're doing, the revenge stuff, it needs to stop. Does it? People are talking. Word gets around in a town this size. They're saying you went crazy, that you threatened Elena and her friend. I signal the bartender for a beer. And what do you think, Rita? I think you're hurt and angry, and you're not thinking straight. The bartender brings my beer, and I take a long drink before responding. You know what I think, Rita? I think you know a lot more about this situation than you're letting on. Her face goes pale under all that makeup. I think you've been helping Elena plan this for months. I think you've been giving her advice on how to hide money, how to make me look bad, how to set me up for the biggest screwing of my life. That's not. I also think you know about the other men. Rita's martini glass stops halfway to her lips. What other men? Come on, Rita. Greg's not the first, is he? Elena's been cheating for years, and you've been covering for her. Girls' nights out that weren't really girls' nights. Weekend trips that were actually hookups with married men. I lean back in my seat, watching her face. The question is, what do I do with that information? Rita sets down her glass with shaking hands. Jack, you don't understand. Elena's been unhappy for a long time. She felt trapped, ignored. She just wanted to feel alive again. So she decided to destroy me instead of just asking for a divorce? It wasn't supposed to go this far. The thing with Greg, It was just supposed to be a fling. But then he started talking about leaving his wife, and Elena got caught up in the fantasy. Greg's married? Rita nods miserably. 3 kids. His wife doesn't know. This keeps getting better. What else don't I know, Rita? She looks around the bar nervously, then leans closer. There's a video. What kind of video? Elena? She recorded some things. With Greg. She said it was just for fun, but I think she was planning to use it somehow. Maybe to blackmail him if he tried to leave her. I feel a cold smile spreading across my face. Where's this video? I don't know. Probably on her phone or her laptop. Which laptop? The one she left at home, or the one she took with her? She has 2 laptops. She has 3, actually. One for work, one personal, and one she thinks I don't know about. Rita stares at me. How do you know about the 3rd one? Because I bought it 6 months ago. Elena said she needed it for a project she was working on. I set it up for her, which means I have administrative access to everything on it. The blood drains from Rita's face. Jack, you can't. Can't what? Can't access my own property? Can't look at files on a computer I paid for? I finish my beer and stand up. Thanks for the information, Rita. This has been very educational. Jack, wait. What are you going to do? I look down at her, this woman who helped my wife plan my destruction, and I feel absolutely nothing. I'm going to find out the truth, all of it, and then I'm going to make sure everyone else knows it too. I leave Rita sitting in the booth and walk out into the cold night air. My phone is already buzzing with calls from Elena, but I don't answer. Let her wonder what Rita told me. Back at home, I head straight to my office and fire up Elena's secret laptop. She was smart enough to password protect it, but not smart enough to change the default recovery settings. It takes me about 10 minutes to get full access. What I find is worse than I imagined. There are dozens of photos and videos, dating back almost 2 years. Elena with Greg. Elena with other men I recognize from around town. Married men, mostly. Guys I know. Guys I've had drinks with. Guys whose wives I've talked to at parties. But that's not the worst part. The worst part is the folder labeled Divorce Strategy. Inside are documents detailing Elena's plan to take me for everything I'm worth. Bank account numbers, business valuations, even a timeline for when she planned to file. She's been planning this for over a year. There are also text messages between Elena and Rita, discussing how to make me look unstable, plans to provoke me into doing something that would hurt me in court, strategies for hiding assets and making it look like I was the one cheating. And then I find the real bombshell, a series of emails between Elena and a lawyer in Portland, discussing how to claim I was abusive, how to document evidence of domestic violence that never happened, how to get a restraining order that would force me out of my own house and business. I sit back in my chair, staring at the screen. This wasn't just an affair. This was a calculated attempt to destroy my life completely. My phone rings. It's Pete. Jack, you need to get down here right now. What's wrong? Greg Lathan's here at the shop, and he's got 2 guys with him, big guys. They're asking questions about you, and they don't look friendly. I grab my jacket and keys. I'm on my way. As I drive through the dark streets toward Pete's garage, I realize that this thing is about to escalate in ways I hadn't anticipated. Elena and Greg aren't just planning to ruin me in divorce court. They're planning to ruin me, period. But they made one critical mistake. They forgot that I'm not just some suburban husband who's going to roll over and take it. I'm a combat engineer who's survived 2 wars and 15 years of marriage to a woman who was apparently planning to destroy me the whole time. If they want to play hardball, I'm more than ready to show them what that actually looks like. Pete's garage sits on the edge of town, surrounded by scrap metal and broken-down cars that he uses for parts. When I pull up, I can see 3 figures standing under the overhead lights, Pete and 2 men I don't recognize. Greg's BMW is parked nearby, engine still running. I park behind a pile of old tires and approach carefully. The 2 strangers are exactly what Pete described. Big, intimidating guys in expensive coats, who look like they've never done an honest day's work in their lives. There he is, Greg says as I walk into the light. The man of the hour. Greg, I nod. Boys, nice night for a visit. The bigger of the 2 men steps forward. He's got the kind of build that comes from steroids and prison workouts, with tattoos crawling up his neck and hands that look like they've broken a few bones in their time. You Jack Harker? He asks. Depends who's asking. I'm asking. Pete catches my eye and gives me a slight shake of his head. Whatever's going on here, he doesn't like it. Yeah, I'm Jack Harker. And you are? I'm the guy who's going to explain some facts of life to you, the man says. My name's Tony, and this is my associate Vincent. We work for people who have a vested interest in making sure certain situations get resolved quietly. I look at Greg, who's trying to look tough but mostly just looks scared. You hired muscle, Greg? That's a new low, even for you. I didn't hire anybody, Greg protests. These gentlemen approached me. Seems they have some concerns about your recent behavior. Tony smiles, showing gold teeth. See? We heard you've been harassing a nice lady and her friend, making threats, damaging property, generally being a nuisance. Is that what you heard? That's exactly what we heard. And we're here to suggest that maybe you should find a more constructive way to deal with your marital problems. Vincent, who hasn't spoken yet, cracks his knuckles. It's meant to be intimidating, but I've been threatened by professionals. These guys are amateurs. Let me ask you something, Tony, I say, keeping my voice calm. How much did Elena pay you to come here? Tony's smile falters slightly. I don't know what you're talking about. Sure you do. Elena Harker, my soon-to-be ex-wife, hired you to come here and scare me. The question is, how much did she pay you, and did she tell you the whole story? We don't discuss our clients, Vincent says. His voice is surprisingly high for such a big man. Your clients, I repeat. So you are hired muscle. Good to know. I turn to Greg. Did you know Elena was planning to frame me for domestic abuse? Did you know she's been documenting fake evidence for over a year? Greg's face goes white. She wouldn't. Oh, but she would, and she did. I've got all the emails, Greg. I've got her whole plan laid out in black and white. Tony steps closer, trying to regain control of the conversation. We're not here to discuss your marriage problems. We're here to deliver a message, which is, back off, leave the lady alone, stop the harassment, stop the threats, and maybe we can all walk away from this without anyone getting hurt. I look at Pete, who's been quietly moving closer to his toolbox. Pete's not a fighter, but he's got my back, and I appreciate that. Here's the thing, Tony, I say. I don't respond well to threats. It's a character flaw of mine. See, I spent some time in places where people made threats for a living, and I learned that the best way to deal with bullies is to hit back twice as hard. You threatening us? Vincent asks, puffing up like an angry rooster. Not threatening, just explaining. I pull out my phone and show them the screen. This is a live stream to my security system. Everything we're saying right now is being recorded and uploaded to a secure server. If something happens to me, those files automatically get sent to the police, the FBI, and about a dozen news outlets. Tony and Vincent exchange glances. They weren't expecting this level of preparation. You're bluffing, Greg says, but his voice lacks conviction. Am I? Pete, what's the name of that detective you know at the state police? Detective Sarah Mitchell, Pete says promptly. She's the one who handles organized crime cases. Right, Detective Mitchell. She's very interested in out-of-state muscle coming into Maine to intimidate local citizens. Something about federal jurisdiction and interstate commerce violations. Tony's getting nervous now. I can see it in the way he keeps looking toward his car. Look, we don't want any trouble, he says. We just came here to have a conversation. Good, let's have one. Let's talk about how Elena hired you to threaten me, without telling you that she's been planning to destroy my life for over a year. Let's talk about how she's been cheating on me, with multiple men, including married men with families. I look directly at Greg. Did you know about the others, Greg? Did you know you're just one in a long line of Elena's extracurricular activities? Greg's mouth opens and closes like a fish. What others? Oh, there are others. Lots of others. Elena's been very busy. In fact, she's got quite a collection of photos and videos. Very artistic, very detailed. Vincent steps forward. Enough talking. He doesn't get to finish the sentence because Pete has just emerged from behind his toolbox with a tire iron in his hands. Actually, Pete says conversationally, I think you two need to get back in your car and drive away, right now. You threatening us, grease monkey? Tony asks. Not threatening, just suggesting. See, this is my property, and you're trespassing. In Maine, property owners have pretty broad rights when it comes to dealing with trespassers. Pete hefts the tire iron meaningfully. Especially trespassers who come here making threats. I can see Tony doing the math. 2 against 2, but we're on home turf. Everything's being recorded. And Pete looks like he knows how to use that tire iron. This isn't over, Tony says, but he's already backing toward the car. Yes, it is, I reply. And here's why. Tomorrow morning, I'm filing for divorce. I'm also filing a restraining order against Alina based on her plan to make false domestic abuse claims. And I'm turning over all of her emails and documents to the police. Greg looks like he's going to be sick. Jack, you can't. I can and I will. Alina wanted to play hardball, Greg. She wanted to destroy me completely. Well, congratulations. She's about to find out what that actually looks like. Tony and Vincent get in their car without another word. Greg starts to follow them, then turns back. Jack, please. Alina made mistakes, but she doesn't deserve to have her life ruined. You're right, I say. She doesn't deserve to have her life ruined. She deserves to have her life ruined, exactly as much as she tried to ruin mine, which is completely. Greg gets in his car and follows Tony and Vincent out of the parking lot. Pete and I watch their taillights disappear into the darkness. Well, that was interesting, Pete says, setting down the tire iron. It's about to get a lot more interesting. My phone is buzzing with text messages from Elena. She's figured out that her intimidation tactic backfired. Jack, we need to talk. This has gone too far. Please call me. We can work this out. I know you're angry, but threatening to go to the police is crazy. I delete the messages without responding and turn to Pete. I need a favor. Name it. I need you to spread the word around town. Make sure everyone knows that Elena hired thugs to threaten me. Make sure they know about the fake domestic abuse allegations. Make sure they know about all of it. Pete grins. You want to destroy her reputation before she can destroy yours? I want to make sure the truth comes out before her version of events does. Consider it done. By tomorrow afternoon, everyone in town will know exactly what kind of person Elena Harker really is. As I drive home, I'm already planning my next move. Elena thought she could intimidate me into backing down. Instead, she's just given me all the ammunition I need to finish this once and for all. But first, I need to make sure Greg's wife knows what her husband has been up to. After all, she deserves to know the truth too. The next morning, I'm sitting in my lawyer's office with a stack of printed emails, bank statements, and screenshots that tell the whole story of Elena's plan. My attorney, David Chen, is a sharp guy in his 50s who's handled more messy divorces than he cares to remember. This is extensive, he says, flipping through the documents. Your wife really documented everything. Elena always was thorough. She just never expected me to find it. David looks up from the papers. Jack, this evidence of her plan to make false abuse allegations, that's serious stuff. We're not just talking about a messy divorce anymore. We're talking about potential criminal charges. Good. Are you sure you want to go that route? Once we file these documents, there's no going back. Elena's going to be facing fraud charges, perjury charges, possibly even extortion. I think about Elena standing in that cabin doorway, telling me she wanted me to watch her destroy my life. I think about the years of lies, the fake smiles, the elaborate plan to take everything I've worked for, file everything. David nods and starts organizing the documents. I'll have the divorce papers ready by this afternoon. The restraining order request will go in at the same time, and I'll make sure copies of everything go to the district attorney's office. What about Greg? What about him? He's married. His wife should know what he's been up to. David raises an eyebrow. Jack, I understand you're angry, but going after the other man could complicate things legally. I'm not going after him. I'm just making sure his wife has the same information I have. She deserves to know the truth. An hour later, I'm sitting in my truck outside Greg's house in the upscale part of town. It's a big colonial, with a manicured lawn and expensive cars in the driveway. The kind of house that screams success and stability. I know from my research that Greg's wife is named Michelle, and that she works part-time as a real estate agent, while raising their 3 kids. I also know that she has no idea her husband has been cheating on her with my wife for the past 6 months. I walk up to the front door and ring the bell. After a moment, a woman in her late 30s opens the door. She's attractive in a soccer mom way, with blonde hair pulled back in a ponytail and workout clothes that suggest she just came back from the gym. Can I help you? She asks. Mrs. Lafton? My name is Jack Harker. I think we need to talk about your husband. Her face goes pale. I'm sorry, what? Greg has been having an affair with my wife. I have evidence, and I thought you should see it before you hear about it from someone else. Michelle Lafton stares at me for a long moment, then steps back and opens the door wider. Come in. We sit in her living room, surrounded by family photos and kids' toys. Michelle pours herself a cup of coffee with shaking hands, while I show her the photos and emails I've printed out. She doesn't say anything for a long time, just stares at the evidence of her husband's betrayal. How long? she finally asks. At least 6 months that I can prove. Probably longer. She sets down her coffee cup and looks at me with eyes that are starting to fill with tears. I knew something was wrong. He's been working late so much, taking all these business trips. I kept telling myself I was being paranoid. You weren't being paranoid. You were being lied to. Michelle picks up one of the photos. Elena and Greg at a restaurant I recognize as the most expensive place in Portland. This was taken last Tuesday, she says quietly. He told me he was in Boston for a conference. I'm sorry you have to see this. She shakes her head. No, I'm glad you came. I needed to know. We sit in silence for a moment. Two people whose lives have been blown apart by the same two selfish individuals. What are you going to do? I ask. I'm going to call my lawyer. Then I'm going to call my sister. Then I'm going to figure out how to tell my children that their father is a lying piece of garbage. Her voice is getting stronger, anger replacing the shock and hurt. What about you? What are you going to do to Elena? I smile, and it's not a nice smile. Elena wanted to destroy me completely. She wanted to take my house, my business, my reputation, everything. She even hired thugs to threaten me. Michelle's eyes widen. She what? Two guys showed up at my friend's garage last night to intimidate me into backing down. Elena's playing for keeps. So what's your plan? I'm going to give her exactly what she tried to give me. Complete destruction. By the time I leave Michelle's house, she's already on the phone with her lawyer. Greg's about to discover that his life is falling apart just as fast as mine was supposed to. My next stop is the local coffee shop, where Rita works part-time teaching yoga classes. I find her setting up mats in the back room, getting ready for the afternoon session. Jack, she says when she sees me. I was hoping you'd come by. Were you? Elena's worried about you. She thinks you might do something stupid. I laugh. Elena's worried about me. That's rich. She never meant for things to go this far. The whole thing just got out of hand. Rita, stop. Just stop lying. I pull out my phone and show her a screenshot of one of Elena's emails to her lawyer. This is Elena's timeline for destroying my life. She planned every detail, including the fake abuse allegations. This wasn't something that got out of hand. This was premeditated. Rita stares at the phone screen, her face going white. She showed this to you? Rita whispers. She didn't show me anything. I found it on her laptop, along with all the photos and videos of her affairs. Jack, you can't. I already did. My lawyer filed everything this morning. Elena's going to be facing criminal charges for attempted fraud and perjury. Rita sinks into a chair, the color completely gone from her face. What about Greg? What about him? His wife knows everything now. His boss is going to know everything by